Oh boy, let's get into it. It's map number 1 in a brand new best of 3. These are stage 2 qualifiers for IEM Katowice. To the top left side of the map, we have the blue Zerg player, the one, the only Serral. Still, it might be forever more depending on what's going on with WCS / the new ESL Pro Tournament, the only non-Korean to win BlizzCon. Can you imagine if he just gets that title because there's no more BlizzCon Starcraft 2? Oh boy. To the bottom right, his opponent, the Red Protoss. It is Neeb. Neeb is, of course, sponsored by Ting. Ting's not a full-blown team for Starcraft 2, but they are a phone company, a US mobile phone company in the United States. And dear viewers, I'm glad you asked, what on earth is Ting? Because I'm happy to explain really quick that we share the sponsorship with them. If you want to learn more about them, you should definitely head up bttv.ting.com. I know, shameless, but get over it because I'm casting Neeb. It's like the one time this is actually appropriate for me to shout out. Because Neeb and I both benefit from you guys, you StarCraft fans, for signing up with Ting. It's how Ting affords to pay Neeb. It's how Ting affords to pay us for events. And you can get $25 off your first phone bill by using our promo code. Again, bttv.ting.com. But shamelessness aside, Serral, man, this is going to be an interesting spot because the matchup's changed a little bit. Not drastically, but you've got lurkers with siege damage or siege range damage now. You've got the Oracle has recently been hotfixed. Zealots are all kinds of new. Adepts changed and then unchanged because they decided it was horrible. There's a lot of really cool aspects to what this matchup is now, and it would be very different, in my opinion, than what they did, say, even in November of 2019, just 3 months ago. But I should say, real quick, standard stuff is still applied. I've been casting a lot of Zest and other high-level players, and for the most part, things like 2 Archons and a Warp Prism are still very standard and common. We are seeing Stargates come out a little bit more prevalently since the hotfix to the Oracles, but I'm very confident in saying no matter what tech path Neeb chooses to go down, which is Stargate for the opener, by the way, I think he'll do well. One of the things I've liked most about Neeb over the last however many years he's really been getting the hype for him is he's had a lot of really good decision making. Obviously, you can talk about micro and macro. Those are like the two things everyone thinks about for StarCraft 2. But you really have to respect his decision making. He knows when to all in and when to not. He knows when to commit and when to not. And sometimes that's a quality you just don't see. Some players out there are just so strong at macro. Their bad decision making is made up for by the fact that they just mined a ton of minerals behind it. All Zerg players ever. Sorry, I keep getting stuff in my throat today for this cast. But jokes aside, we have Phoenix for the opener here. This will drive off the Overlords, so it'll take away some of the easy mode scouting for Serral, but also help reduce the chance that Nidus Worms are a threat in this game. Add into the fact that the Oracle will likely follow this up. You'll have that surgical precision to hit the mineral line and be super annoying with a Phoenix. For the last couple of casts we've been doing, actually, we've seen quite a few games where people are trying to make Mass Phoenix come back. Some shout outs to yesterday's stage 1 qualifiers, for example. I'm not convinced. I think it's a strong move, but I think it's a lot stronger for Zerg players to identify Stargate play and just build a lot of Zerglings and Roaches and play completely around it. Regardless of that, Phoenix heads across the map. The second Overlord's already been brought back home, so there's no easy kill on that one. But again, it takes away vision. And while Swarm Hosts and Nidus Worms were in literally every game of PvZ for the end of 2019, nowadays they're used, I would say, even less than half as much as they were before. You still see them, they're still part of the matchup, but they're not everyone's go-to. And so much of that comes from the way they changed the Nidus Worm around, but I'll leave that point on a note for now until we see it come into actual play. So as the Oracle zips in, it grabs the first drone or two. And it's so nice seeing that thing like actually attack properly now. For those who don't know what the hotfix I was describing earlier was, the Oracle had this problem where even if it was target firing a drone, it would physically like twist to face the units that were attacking it, like the Queen, which would then force it to turn back and kill the drones. So this constant twisting of the Oracle physically moving left and right would cause it to lose attacks here and there. And that's be a little weak for it. But Neeb appears to be like kind of feigning an Adept all in. This is kind of cool. It's not actually committed, nor does it have resonating glaives. But Neeb's actually really well known for his resonating glaive all-ins. God knows I've cast probably 30% of the games he plays against Scarlet with that build, right? So it wouldn't be uncommon for him to do this versus Serral. And for Serral, initial glance, this kind of just looks like maybe the timing's off. Like he attacked before Resonating Glaives was done type thing. But with or without Resonating Glaives, these Adepts are still a very big threat, especially since they're being supported here by the Oracles. Regardless though, the double robo follow-up to this and the third base are what matters most. Serral, oh, we grabbed some of the Oracles. He knows about the third base, but he doesn't know about the robo swap. Not yet, at least. So the Adepts, I think at this point, the jig is up. Serral's no longer doing guesswork as to what Neeb's doing. Or rather, he knows what Neeb isn't doing, more importantly. Oh, that's an interesting challenge that I can't read in a highlighted message. Darn. I guess I'll have to find $10 some other way today. But Radovnod, in all seriousness, asks, who are you rooting for in this one? You know what? I know Neeb has been playing a lot of the holdout challenges on the channel. He's been doing a lot of community stuff with us. We share the sponsor. The obvious answer would be Neeb, but I'm kind of just rooting for Serral. Like, I want that legacy to continue here into 2020. I want Serral to still be the badass king of the mountain, the titan that everyone wants to take down. So truthfully, I think I'm rooting for Serral a little bit, but realistically, I should be rooting for Neeb. Those holdout challenges, by the way, have been so fun to do, and I hope we get to do more of them in the future. For those who don't know what those are real quick, we just basically had Neeb come onto the stream for like 3 or 4 hours and have noobs and some smurfing GMs play against Neeb, and whoever had like the longest time of surviving, because let's be honest, everyone was going to die to Neeb, they won prizing, and it was pretty cool. We have the Dark Shrine follow-up to this, but to be honest, this just looks like cost-efficient Archons on the gas side of things. Obviously, you can make Archons out of DTs or High Templar, and depending on what you're building or how much tech you're investing in, sometimes DTs are just more preferable because they cost significantly less gas, which is, of course, the more difficult resource to harvest. He's going to recall out of this and lose a century or two for it, but luckily he keeps the Immortals alive. I'm not sure what that push was really meant to accomplish without proper support. Like, if there was a Warp Prism hovering above it, then I could kind of understand, but pushing it on the map like that forced the recall. That's fine. What was he otherwise going to do? Build some Chrono Energy? Big deal. But keeping those Immortals alive could be the difference of Serral actually pushing into that fourth base or not. And I think because he knew those Immortals survived, he didn't want to over-dedicate to it. I got to give some remarks, though, to Serral's creep spread. It's looking pretty dang good. It's got almost half the map here on Simulacrum covered. Sure, creep tumors are easily cleaned up by Protoss as the observers tend to follow the army, but that's still those moments where they'll have to stop. Nice contaminate out of the Overseer. That's going to delay the +1 weapons here. Oh, Wolf, my dude. Thank you for the 1,000 bits. All right, Cannon. I really like this SimCity setup by Neeb. Obviously, if there's going to be a Ling attack, this will help quite a bit. Banelings might still just tear through all the buildings if Serral really wants to commit to it, but regardless, this is actually a really nice setup. I like this. In posturing between the two bases, it's not going to be easy to know from which direction Serral attacks from, so we see Zealots start spreading out to very specifically anticipate some of this. And I hope this Zealot sees this. The Drop Overlord this timing in the game can only really mean one thing, and Neeb has vision of this, but I don't know if he actually sees this, because he is pushing through the middle of the map. There's only +1 melee done, so it will take 2 hits from a Baneling to kill a probe at present. But that's still going to be about a half of the mineral line that probably gets killed by this. Again, that's only if Neeb's not paying attention. We're going to... Actually, let's watch Neeb's vision. He sees this coming. He sees this coming. He's already warped in Stalkers to react. And he pulls the probes. Baneling speed's done, but it's off creep, so force field's good. Oh my god, what a cleanup! Oh, wait. Not yet, though. Ooh, that gets some of the gas mining probes. Okay. That was handled better than not handled at all. But with that last bit of complacency towards the end, that's where that really hurt. Neeb continues shooting the Overlord makes sense. But if you had shot the Banelings, like even just one of the Banelings would not have been enough to kill the probe. So of the 2 remaining, if the Stalkers had killed them, that might not have killed any of the probes. But again, solid hold nonetheless. The chat brings up a great reminder. If you're here live with us, oh, we missed this little roll by. So I was watching the army move out. I guess those had just walked in. Those weren't even, were those even dropped? There's an overseer in the main base. I'm like hypersensitive now to all the blue dots. Banelings pop off on the front line. Most of the immortals still stand. This is very, very important because that army behind it is roaches. If the archons remain, they can also help a bit, but the immortals are way stronger for this. The archons actually do their job of taking out most of the banelings, but the back flank from Neeb, or from Serral's going to catch Neeb a bit off guard. A stasis ward, however, takes out a good chunk of the roaches, and a bit of micro saves that archon. Granted, it's almost dead still, but this fight, this battle is getting really tight and really close on both sides of this. And that Warp Prism can't sit still. Corrosive Bows dive forward. Immortal's getting so bloody low. They pick this bad boy up. Oh, no! Zealots warping in are going to be huge for this. There's no Banelings to wash them off. Serral just simply doesn't have time to build too many more. He's trying to. He's building them right here on the front lines. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Neeb might actually want to back out of this. I don't know how much he wants to continue committing. If the immortal barriers are off cooldown, actually, yeah, they are. He could definitely sit around a little bit longer. But now that the banelings are done, he doesn't actually have an easy way to deal with them. When there's archons, they can just splash them down or soak the hits. Zealots are just going to run into them and counter them with their own bodies, I guess? Oh, no. The immortals are still going pretty strong here. 18 kills, 23 kills. I mean, he's going to bleed out retreating back, and I think Neeb overstayed his welcome here. I really, truly think that if he had just picked up after that first disengage and gone home, he could have rebuilt quite a very powerful army. But now he's risking Serral, and Serral could have just followed him, right? Serral doesn't know for sure what's at home waiting for Neeb, but if he had just chased Neeb down, Neeb has nothing to fall back to. There's an overseer that sees kind of what's going on, but it's a shame because this could have actually been far, far worse for Neeb. So I guess for Neeb fans, take a breather. Oh, nice force field. Sigh of relief as he holds on a bit longer. Storm's going to change things up. And look, all things considered, how badly that fight went. Resources lost, kind of even. Income, not particularly favoring Serral in that big of a way yet. So he's not really run away with this game. Remember, Serral had to throw a lot of bodies into that fight too, and they both had about 70 plus 80 workers behind this. I'm not sure how good Blink's going to be or not, but we do have Blink on the way. I guess invest the tech. Quite a few banelings morphing in now down to the south. A lot of creep to clean up. Pushing through this is difficult. Also, these Templar are kind of unprotected. They can always be scooped up into the Warp Prism in a pinch, but banelings going in for round 2. Probes pulled away a little bit late. Oh, he's gonna lose. Oh, these are +2. They can one-shot the probes. He's got to save these probes. Oh my god. Neeb's money is why he's still in this game. Now, I'm a little surprised. That's twice now he's force fielded over here and had the banelings go through the same path. I'm surprised he doesn't just build some pylons there to soak that a bit more. Or a third cannon for that matter. But an elegant game between the two, to say the least. Each of them playing to their own strengths. I love the storms, by the way. These storms are going to be a serious game changer for these battles. Because as good as Archons are, they're nothing close to a storm popping off 20 banelings. Or here, softening up a bunch of lings. Probes, unfortunately, are going to die to this. The lings have +2. Chipping through that's very quick, very easy. I think they have Drilllands as well. Yeah. Oh boy, he's going to make these into banelings too. So frustrating for Neeb. Because the path that they're going down is... Oh, the cannon's depowered. He needs to actually repower the cannon. Banelings over here on the right side. Serral coming in. One baneling still enough. 24 probes dead in total from these 2 attacks combined. Yo, this is getting ridiculous. Oh, more. It is such a big difference having that +2 weapons. I can't begin to stress that enough. Critical upgrades, as they're often referred to in Starcraft, are not that abundant, but this is one of them, because the difference of killing those probes or not is really the difference of like upgrades versus having 6 or 7 extra banelings per attack. But oh my god, speaking of banelings coming to this fight, there are 73 banelings on this map right now, and even with all the storms in the front, he's struggling to deal with them. Completely sandwiching Neeb in. His army disappears. He got Thanos snapped. Where did it go? GG. Serral takes game number 1. Already en route to get another mystery chest, no less. Excellent. But oh my God, we continue on with what is possibly the best matchup in the entire brackets today. I really don't know what other matchup could beat this. But to the bottom left side, we have our blue Zerg player from Ents. It's Serral. And his opponent at the top right, the red Protoss, Neeb. But not to get too far ahead of ourselves, I do hope Neeb ties this up and we go to game 3 and all that. But a reminder that this is a double elimination format for the tournament. So if Neeb loses 2-0, feels bad, man. But he does have a chance to still qualify. Let's not forget there's still a whole other Asia qualifier that people can play. But yeah, this is that was a really good game. Pretty even, pretty back and forth up until it wasn't. 73 banelings, guys. 73 banelings. God knows, I watch players like Rogue go for like maybe 50, 60. 73 banelings, Serral. That was shameless, is what that was. Oh, but speaking of shameless, guys, we got a Forge coming up. And while this might not be Forge first, we've been witnessing this still work pretty well for timings around the natural. Neeb being very cheeky here, just kind of baiting the drones. They're not taking the bait. He's going to put a pylon down. He's going to fully wall off. He's going to fully wall off. Oh, he's trying to fully wall off. Oh, this is huge that Serral got him. Because the only other way you could have gone about this was put 3 behind here. But this is a big map with a lot of blocks. And frankly, well, this didn't work out perfectly for the full wall off. There's still the threat of cannons behind this. Cannons to the low ground, cannons to the high ground, cannons literally anywhere. But Neeb could also not commit to this, which is what's so beautiful. The pylon finishing is 100 minerals, and that sucks. But at the same time, a considerable amount of money was lost pulling 6 or 7 drones to deal with this. I shouldn't say lost, more like not mined. So, speaking of not mining, Neeb doesn't mind. He leaves this alone and he backs away. Sorry, that's my one bad joke for the cast. No, I'm gonna have a lot of those today. Let's be real. Regardless, though, Neeb, okay. Does it suck that this wasn't something he could commit to? Yes, but he canceled his Forge. Didn't even catch that till literally just now. He actually canceled his Forge about the Cyber Core. So this really ended up being just a really cool mind game, even though I don't believe that was his intention. In fact, if we were to go back in the VOD, I would imagine that the second this got blocked here by the drone is probably when he canceled the Forge and built a Cyber Core. But regardless of when, we know this pacing is going to be a little bit off for Neeb. But luckily, like I said, it's not the kind of pacing that screws you over. It's not like opening mech and trying to somehow transfer back into bio. This is fine. Stargate's also going to be the opener here. The Stargate opener played pretty well for Neeb last game. And in fact, we saw that one really cool mid-combat stasis trap that got a bunch of roaches. I want to see more action like that. Unless the depth is being annoying on the other side of the field too simultaneously. These guys are so full of action. Even when there's nothing going on, there's still plenty going on. And we have the third base for Serral, about halfway finished up. He didn't have to wait too long to deal with that pylon. Continuing to give chase to the Adept Shade, not letting it get any kind of freedom in the bases is very important. I'm also wondering if we'll see Serral spread creep, because obviously this little gap, as annoying as it is, it does slow down Queen response time quite significantly. Even though it's just like a little bit, but still. I wonder what it is that makes Queens move so fast on creep, because when you look at their little legs, like... do they just have super tender feet? Like, you know, when you walk across something sharp, you kind of have to like, whoa, 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 and like walk a little bit more slowly. Can Queens just literally not handle flat ground? Whatever the question, and more importantly, whatever the answer to that is, not super relevant. We got Overlord speed coming up. This will benefit him quite well if he wants to do drops again, but more importantly, this will pay to his scouting, because we should note that Serral to this point, outside of the Stargate, hasn't scouted much. Oh, Neeb's also opened up his third base. Oh, again, another deny there. No confirmation on the third. Serral has to do a bit of guesswork, so more lings are coming across the field. Scouting information, oh so important in Starcraft 2. Can't even begin to highlight just how big of a deal it can be sometimes. But despite not having information about what's going on here, I guess neither did Neeb, so the attack comes and it's caught a little off guard by this. more than a little off guard. This is actually very problematic. He's gonna lose all the army units here. And quite frankly, has to use the Oracle now to defend this base. Something he definitely did not want to have to do, but is forced into doing. Ooh, wow. Alright, Overlord's gonna be pushed off and shot down. Again, this removes map vision, but oh, interesting. Elford says, came for Stream Raiders, but I've been hanging out for the Starcraft commentary. I like RTS games. Age of Empires 2 is more my game, but this is fun. One request, you're providing great hype and energy. If you could also remind viewers of what some of the units do and how the tactics work, that'd be a huge help to the new to the game viewers. I don't mind that request, actually. And those are some really kind words, thank you. But it's difficult to do because what you have to understand for this is what you've tuned in for is one of the biggest tournaments of the year's qualifiers. A huge majority of the audience watching right now know the basics of the game, and if I go start nitpicking and overanalyzing and over-explaining every single little thing, it's going to be kind of tedious for the majority of people watching. However, I will say, if you have really big questions, I can always try to answer them, but our community is actually really awesome because we're all just StarCraft fans who want more StarCraft fans to hang out with. So if you are ever confused about what's going on and I'm not doing a great enough job explaining it on stream, trust me, if you ask in chat, you will get well, I was going to say you'll get non-trolly answers, but if I say that, then you're going to get trolly answers. So just ask questions and hope you get the right answer. That's the best I've got. But we are at a 2-minute stream delay as a reminder to everybody. These are the tournament rules, so it's a little bit more difficult to interact with chat, and that's why I'm focusing a bit more on the games than usual. But at any rate, we have lanes to the top side ready to try and run by once again, but Neeb has once again set up a really thick wall. Like, we're talking 2 Cs, maybe even 3 thick, here to the top of his third base. Fourth base is a little exposed, and oh no, once again his army's cut out in the open. And this for me goes right back to that vision thing I was talking about moments ago. A really cool interaction here that's definitely worth explaining is the Phoenix. Wait a minute, did that just recall? Hold up, wait, what? It did. Oh my god, that was so cool. Okay, so the Phoenix can lift 1 unit up at a time, but it can also lift friendly units up. It lifted the Immortal up at the same time that Neeb had initiated a recall, which has a big cooldown on it. Not big, but bigger than 104, so whatever seconds, 120 I think total. So he saves the Immortal by recalling it to the Nexus, but if you just simply recalled it, it would not have had enough time. It would have totally died to the surround from the roaches. And while losing all of those units really sucks, keeping the Immortal alive is exceptionally important, similar to last game, because he's fighting against so many roaches. So this bad boy is down to half health, but the barrier's off cooldown, which means it can absorb another 100 damage before it loses its shields. And frankly, it's the big damage that helps push back the roaches. So right now, Neeb has a very small army in comparison to that of Serral. Yes. But the type of units he has are quite exceptional and very powerful. Immortals are strictly anti-armor busters. They deal more than double damage to anything with the armor tag, which is what these roaches are all about. Ravagers, their brother component, sadly have no tag, so only Archons would deal bonus damage to them. Yeah, Phoenix driving off the Overseer. We're going to see upgrades continue here for Neeb. Very important to chew through that armor. More Banelings are on the way, and I think this is where this is going to start falling apart a bit for Neeb. Because he has Templar, and Storm is researched. And to be clear, Storms are a hard counter to Banelings in a lot of scenarios. But as we witnessed in the last game, if you get enough Banelings, anything works. I like the stasis traps, grabbing 2 of the queens. Topside's going to burn a little bit more of that army. Ooh, every time Serral steps forward, he's got to rethink whether he wants to commit to this or not. Big Baneling trap, big Baneling trap, huge Baneling trap. These units taken out of the fight. Serral's army effectively reduced to about a half of its size. And right here on this side, if Neeb does this carefully and correctly, he could time out Storms to pop these units as they're coming out of stasis. New stasis hordes are coming down a little bit further back. More protection here against the Banelings. I mean, you can bait these traps out with 1 or 2 units, but you have to use a lot. Oh god, the stasis traps actually end up saving the Banelings from the storm. What a backfire! What a misfire! And that's gonna be a game. I can't see Neeb recovering from this. GG. Serral takes the series 2-0, as we expect from one of the best non-Korean players and hell, better than most Korean players in the world.